When Apple released the Apple Watch Series 7, it's fair to say that it was met with pretty lukewarm reception from most Apple fans. While I myself like the larger display, when you looked at the upgrades for this year's watch, it definitely left you wanting more, which is why there's actually a lot of attention right now on the Apple Watch Series 8, and with good reason, because this next Apple Watch could be one of the biggest yet, and based on a number of reports, we may actually see one of the biggest Apple Watch lineups in years, with Mark Gurman now detailing that Apple will not only be releasing a new Apple Watch Series 8, but also a refresh version of the Apple Watch SE and an entirely brand new model of the Apple Watch, which is either being called the Apple Watch Explorer Edition or the Apple Watch Rugged Edition. So as a big Apple Watch fan myself, this stuff really excites me, which is why I'm really interested in talking about these rumors. So if you're a big fan like me, get subscribed. And if you're a returning viewer, hit the like button. So let's talk first about the entry-level model, the Apple Watch SE. Now, the Apple Watch SE was one of my top recommendations for an Apple Watch when it came out, because it really nailed what you would want from the Apple Watch experience, and it was quite different from the philosophy of the iPhone SE. That's because the Apple Watch SE gave us a modern design when it was released, but used older chips and less sensors in its design, whereas the iPhone SE was all about delivering an older body with the newest chip. And while this strategy works great for the iPhone, for the Apple Watch, I think most users place a premium on the design rather than how fast their watch is, because it's literally a fashion accessory that you wear on your wrist. So signaling to people that you have the newest design is an important factor when buying one of these watches. The larger display also just meant better usability, access to more watch faces, and more room inside the watch for things like a bigger battery. All good things to have on an Apple Watch. So the SE got the basics down on what most users wanted in a watch, without other more advanced features like the always-on display and other health features. Now, I think for this second revision of the Apple Watch, we could see Apple take a little bit of a revised strategy. So first of all, I would not expect the latest design of the Series 7 on the Apple Watch SE. I would be surprised if we saw that. I think the SE will use the same body as it currently does, because I think a big differentiating thing for the new SE will be its form factor, because it'll be using the 44 and 40 millimeter sizing rather than the more bezel-free premium design of the 41 and 45 millimeter Series 7. Secondly, I think the SE is due for some sort of chip upgrade, and it's possible we could see Apple move this up all the way to the S6 or whatever S7 chip, because they're technically the same in processing power. I also think we could see some features borrowed from older Apple Watches. The most obvious one to me is the always-on display. This sounds like a feature that wouldn't be too costly to add, and now there are enough differentiators out there between the SE2 and the Series 8 with that different design that you could give the base SE model the always-on display, and that would be a nice upgrade for that price range. As for more advanced health sensors, I think that's an area where we will still see Apple just ship more of that basic functionality with the heart rate sensor and fall detection. Those, I imagine, are the features that the SE would stick with, as I think more of the advanced health sensors would be pretty costly to add. And for most people, that basic heart rate monitoring and fall detection covers the biggest spectrum of people's health needs. However, if there's one sensor they could possibly add to an SE2, it would probably be the ECG reader, as it's one of the older health sensors at this point, and its development costs could be much lower than what it was just a few years ago. I think costs could stay the same for the SE2, but I also look at the Series 3 in the lineup and think that has to be gone for next year. I don't think Apple should continue to sell the $200 Series 3 this year. So for next year, it would be an absolute crime to keep that dated watch in the lineup, which means we could possibly see the existing SE model maybe move down in price to $200. And then for this SE2, that would probably stay in the $250 to $270 price range. Now, the Series 8 would obviously have to have some pretty big upgrades if Apple is planning on an updated Apple Watch SE2, which is probably going to have a lot of improvements. Design is one area where Apple could really separate this watch from the rest of the lineup, and while I'm sure many are still looking at that flat design as a given for this year, I am very skeptical that we will ever see that flatter design applied to the Apple Watch at this point. Apple's last keynote specifically called out how they made the watch rounder, and while Apple is no stranger to going back on changing their designs or changing their minds, I just feel like with the design change we got with the Series 7, that Apple wouldn't do another revamp this close to it. Year-over-year upgrades for designs are usually pretty rare. So for me, a new design seems less than likely, but I think this is a year where we could get significant new internal features. First of all, I think we are all expecting a processor bump to the Series 8 in the form of an S8 chip, which should be around 20% faster if we look back at how much a performance bump older Apple Watch chip upgrades got. It should also be more efficient than the S7 chip, meaning we could see a slight boost in battery life. I think the biggest feature that the Series 8 could possibly incorporate are all health features. And we have heard a lot, and I mean a lot of rumors, for different types of health sensors. Things like blood pressure monitoring, more advanced sleep tracking sensors, body temperature sensors, and the holy grail of health features, blood glucose monitoring. Now, for clarification, these are all rumored health features that Apple is working on behind the scenes to incorporate into future versions of the Apple Watch, and not all of these health features are going to make it into the Series 8. It's probably just going to be like one of these health features. So we don't know which health sensor will be added to the Series 8, and if you look at all those health sensors, it would probably take like 5 years at least to cram them all into an Apple Watch model. With that being said, I think the rumor that holds the most possibility of being on the Series 8 for 2022 is the body temperature sensor. There are 2 separate reports out from Ming-Chi Kuo and Mark Gurman detailing that the body temperature sensor could make its way to the Series 8, and that's the most reporting we have on any of these new health sensors making their way to an Apple Watch in the immediate future. Obviously, a body temperature sensor would take your body temperature, and that could be a pretty handy feature, especially right now. We could also see other upgrades to the Series 8, maybe a bump up in internal storage from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes, better wireless connectivity, and currently there are rumors of a redesigned speaker, so maybe an improved speaker as well. And maybe even new edition watches made from different materials. Speaking of which, we are expecting just that, with Mark Gurman saying that this is the year that Apple will make a separate rugged version of the Apple Watch. This rugged version could look quite different than the sleek metal finishes we have on Apple Watches now, with Apple opting to use a bigger, thicker, rubbery exterior that would be more durable and able to withstand direct drops or falls on the watch. Gurman says that this will be similar to Casio's popular G-Shock series of watches, and it will be aimed more towards people who do outdoor activities like hiking or running. Now, while most of these reports focus on the idea of a more durable Apple Watch, I think that this model would also need to have other exclusive features, and the most important exclusive feature it would need is a bigger battery. Because the primary reason these sport watches are popular and sell well with other brands is because of the longer battery life, and these batteries in other watches can last for a pretty long time. So if you're going on a 2-day hike, you probably shouldn't have to worry about charging your Apple Watch. And while I can't see an Apple Watch lasting for like a full week, I do think there needs to be a battery life improvement, maybe as much as just double the capacity for reliable 2-day battery life. Apple could do this because they're targeting a more narrow audience, so they can make this watch thicker and heavier and, let's face it, uglier, because they don't have to worry about looks. And they could incorporate a bigger battery into this watch, maybe one with double the capacity to ensure multi-day battery life for some of these outdoor scenarios, and extend maybe the dedicated workout times above 12 hours. Or perhaps, just like we now have battery cases and MagSafe battery packs for the iPhone, perhaps this Explorer Edition could come with a brand new rubberized Apple Watch band which packs in an extended battery. We have heard rumors of smart bands for years, and this would be the perfect product to debut it on. Let's be frank. An uglier Apple Watch band, one that can give you battery life enhancements, wouldn't look so out of place on a new, thicker, rugged version of the Apple Watch, where on the current sleek Apple Watches, you probably wouldn't want to attach a monstrosity like that to it. But hey, Apple could then give you that option because they would have that other product to point to, as this is what it's meant for. I also think there's a good chance, besides a bigger battery, we could see some sort of new software mode supported where the Apple Watch could focus on extreme battery life savings, maybe by displaying a more crude UI similar to a Casio G-Shock, and focus on things just like battery life, health tracking, and GPS tracking. And while I certainly wouldn't want to dumb down my Apple Watch like that, there's definitely people that would need that multi-day battery life who I think would be more than happy to trade that off. However, I think most people just would like a reliable 2-day battery, and that could have them picking this rugged version of the Apple Watch over any of the other ones in the lineup. And based on how this Apple Watch actually looks when it comes out, like I hope it looks a lot better than some of the renders we see today, I could see myself actually picking up this rugged version of the Apple Watch if it is kind of a pro and rugged version that lets it run even longer besides just being more durable. I really think that's what this watch really needs to succeed, and that's the kind of feature I would want to see in order to pick one up for myself and not pick one of these nicer looking versions. As for pricing, I think this watch would be aimed at a more narrow market, meaning it would carry a higher price tag. There's no concrete rumors right now on pricing, but I would expect at least a $600 to $700 starting price based on Apple's current watch lineup. So think of it more as a slightly more expensive version of the Series 8 Apple Watch with possibly more features. But yeah, with the Series 7 being a pretty uneventful upgrade, the Series 8 only stands to get better with 3 new Apple Watch models, and it sounds like it's going to be a year where a lot of people upgrade. But so far, that's everything we know about the 3 new Apple Watches coming in 2022 and what I think these watches will have. So if you like this video, be sure to give me a like. If you want to know more and get more information as it comes out, make sure you're subscribed. And if you can't wait a full year to purchase an Apple Watch, like you want an Apple Watch Series 7 right now, I have links down in the description to the current Apple Watches that I recommend that are definitely worth your time. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.